morning, guys. It is Friday the 7th. Yeah, it's the 7th already. We have 4 more days and then it's takeoff. We're leaving. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. It is about noonish. It's 11:30 and I've been up since 6 and I've been gridding constantly. So I have done nothing really of value than gridding. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about the gridding just because. I grid with fishing line. I use a fishing line that is 0.25 millimeters. I would recommend using the 0.20 or 0.2 millimeter. It's a little bit thinner. It's for kind of the lightest weight of fish. And because it's a little bit thinner, it fits the fabrics a little bit better. Personally, I wouldn't recommend using anything else to grid with. When it comes to the pre-gridded fabrics, I've had friends that had good experience with it. I had friends that been having issues trying to get the grid lines out, because after you have created your cross stitch, you want to wash out the fabric and wash out the lines. And I had friends that had issues kind of washing it out. Also had friends having issues with the lines bleaching too fast, so that the grid line disappears before you actually are finished with your project. Any kind of pens used for gridding, I personally stay away with, and that is because there is no pens out there right now that is made for gridding specifically. There is a whole bunch of pens that are made for marking fabric for different kind of sewing, dressmaking or quilting or something like that. However, they are not made to sit on the fabric for a longer period of time. And many of them, a few of them are like you can wash them out, or you can use an iron and iron them out. When you iron them out, the material that actually is in the pen won't disappear. It will stay there. So if you have it down the line in 10-20 years, your project, it might reappear, or it will ghost on you. I've heard people having all kinds of issues where you got rid of everything when you did your cross stitch and everything was finished, and then like 5-10 years later you're starting to see the grid popping back. So I keep away from those, but sure, you could probably use them if you want to do. However, there's one pen that I'm just like, it's a big no-no. Please don't use it, you will ruin your fabric. And that is the friction pens. The friction pens are, first of all, the company itself says do not use this on fabric. Secondly, they are not archival, which means that the ink in the pen, I actually read it, the ink in the pen has a acid part of it. To make it be able to be removed by friction or heat, it has a little bit of acid in it, and that acid will start to break down your paper or anything you write with it on, including fabrics. So in the long run, it will make your fabric break down and break actually. The second thing of it is that the pen, the ink goes permanent after 2 years. So if you use it on your fabric, it will get permanent after 2 years. So if you do your project, you will not be able to remove it if you're not finished within 2 years. The third one is that when you heat it off from your fabric, you will not remove the ink, you will just activate the remove the pigment, or the activation of the ink will remove the pigment. However, if you put it into the freezer, for example, you usually can get it back, but it will still be there and continue working on your fabric. So continue, the acids in the ink will continue break down the fabric. You can wash it, but however it is a gel pen, so it can be hard to wash out. So yeah, I use friction pens for all my writing because none of my writing is permanent. It's usually note taking on a lot of things. It's not notes that I'm going to keep in the long run. However, I do enjoy that writing on paper because the kind of writing down, which I'm showing with my left hand even though I'm a right-handed person, but the writing itself kind of helps me remember stuff. It kind of gives me both the emotion of it, but also the image of it written down helps my memory. So I write a lot and I use friction pens, but I only do that when I write. I would never use a friction pen on any kind of fabrics, even when I'm quilting. However, I've done it in the past when quilting, but then I have cut off the marking. So basically it's marked where to cut, and then I'm cutting off the fabric so the markings isn't left in my project. So yeah, so that's my tips on the gridding. I'm going to show you how much I've gridded. I basically gridded for 6 hours and I'm not halfway through. I'm at, I think I've done 32 rows on the short side and about 15-20 on the longer side, so the side where it takes longer to actually sew it. When I start, I do the middle cross first and then I alternate. I do two, one on each side of the grid line, and then I turn the fabric, and then I do one on each side, and then I turn the fabric. And when it's square, that works great. But when it's rectangular like this, I have a tendency to do a few of the shorter ones and then do a few of this, just one or two of the longer, and then another few of the shorter ones, because the longer ones takes a lot of time. And because I'm gridding with small little crosses, again I'm going to show you this soon, they are easier to do when I already have made a line. So when I'm going over the lines to make the small crosses, it's much easier because I don't have to count. So yeah, I'm gonna get in some coffee in me and I'm gonna continue gridding. I'm at least gonna do the short side gridding, which is 56 lines, so about 24 lines left of that gridding, and then we'll see how much the clock will be. This will probably take the whole day, but this is a project I will work on for years and years and years, so it is worth it. Definitely is worth it, because I don't have to count all the time, because counting takes up time. For me, it takes up so much time. So yeah, happy about that. Sorry for talking your ears off, but good morning guys. I hope you have an awesome day. It's really, really grey and wet. And yeah, that's not the sunset, that's just the mirroring of my light in the kitchen. But yeah, super grey, super wet, and it's about 2 degrees outside. Ugh. Well, I'm gonna head back and continue with my gridding. Well, the light here isn't the most perfect one. I have my overhead light here. See if I can just get some more light on it. This is my gridding so far. This piece of fabric is huge. It's gonna be a huge pattern, so yeah. I'm gridding it like every other line here. For this one, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm on line 40 for the width, and I have 15 here. So there's still a lot of gridding to be done before this is finished, but it will be finished before we leave, so I will be able to put the first couple of stitches in, if not today, maybe tomorrow. And by the way, if you were wondering, this is the division line I'm using. You can use any one, you just want to make sure you really want it to be 0.2 and not 0.25 as this is. And what it says is that is low stretch. I think that is a good thing. Don't really care about coating and where I'm gonna have it, but this will definitely, the color will not come off, because hey, it's supposed to be able to be in the water. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. And this is pink. So yeah, there you have it. That is the sewing line I'm using. And then I'm watching YouTube on my iPad. This is where I usually have my pattern, but as I'm just gridding, I am watching YouTube here. It's really nice actually, because I can change them pretty quickly in between. Yeah. So in Sweden we have a coffee shop, or a coffee shop chain, called Espresso House, and they always been just about the lattes, and then Starbucks came, and Starbucks does these all very sugary drinks and everything, so they of course picked up after them and started doing their own. And they have, during Christmas time, they have one they called a Santa latte, or in Swedish tomte latte, and it has monin syrup, cinnamon, and then they have whipped cream, and then they have cardamom. And I made my own version. I don't have any whipped cream at home, but I do have the cinnamon monin and the cardamom, so that was what I got into my coffee. So this is kind of my last coffee for the day. By the way, if you've been following me for a longer period of time, you know that I was sugar-free from January to I think September, August or September, and I do want to go back to a sugar-free diet, but during Christmas there are so many good things that are Christmassy that have a lot of sugar in them. There's a lot of good Christmas cookies and Christmas candy and all of those things. And going to the States, I know that the States have more sugar in their food than than we have here in Sweden. So I'm just feeling that, okay, I'm totally dropping sugar-free diet, even though I know I'm feeling a little bit better when I live on a sugar-free diet, and then when I get back in January I will go back on it, because then I won't be feeling, because this is the problem, is that you only have so much kind of logical energy in a day, like I should be doing this and I should be doing that, and pushing yourself can be hard. I read a book about dealing with change, and in there they kind of make the visuals of it, that the logic, the drive of you is an elephant drive, and then you have the emotional you, which is the elephant. And whenever you do a big change, you can only, the logical you can only drive it so long. You need to have the emotional you to drive it. And during Christmas time, the emotional me wants to eat all of the candy and all of the cookies and all of the things, and I have so many other things that I need to change or I have to deal with right now that which takes up the energy of my logical me, the elephant driver. So he doesn't really have the energy to pull in the elephant. So I'm letting go of the diet until January, because after January it will be easier. There's a lot more stuff lot less decisions, lot less stressful things, because everything will happen in the beginning of January, and hopefully the rest of 2019 will be a little bit easier, and hopefully also the changes that is going to be done in the beginning of 2019 hopefully help my health. So yeah, I'm trying to be careful about candy and sugar, because I don't want to overdo it, but I'm not living a sugar-free diet completely. However, most of my coffees have honey in them instead of sugar, because it's so much better. At least for me, for my blood sugar, the honey works so much better. But right now I have one of those moaning sugary drinks because it's Christmas almost, and I felt I needed it. But yeah, little diet talk. It's really hard to grid when Leia comes and lies down on top of my fabric, but is not that much gridding left for this page though. Well guys, it is time for me to head to bed. I've basically been gridding all day. I started gridding at 6 in the morning and I finished it at about 9. So that is like 15 hours of straight gridding. And in that time I had breakfast, which was like a 20-minute half-hour break. And then I had dinner for about 45 minutes. I have taken like micro breaks, gone and fixed coffee, bathroom breaks, water breaks, stuff like that, but haven't really done anything else. And after I stopped gridding, I kitted up the project. The way I have it done is that I have a full set of DMC in bobbinated in different boxes, and then I have 1 or 2 extra skeins of some of the colors in some baggies, and everything is tracked in pages. So I have an Excel sheet but in pages, which is the Apple thing, so I can have it in the cloud, where I have all of the colors, and then I have kind of noted if it's in my kind of main stash, if it's in Wrath, because Wrath has its own box, or if I have it in my skein stash. I also now have another line, and they are so easy to remove then when I switch all of the little bobbins back. But I now have a main one where I have picked out everything that I could pick out for Christmas house. So I picked out the skeins I needed and the bobbins I needed. However, one of the most prominent color, 820, I only have like 75% of a skein left from, and it's basically the first color you use in the beginning because it's a prominent color in the background. Yeah, so I'm gonna need to buy like 17 skeins of that or something. Yeah, so hopefully we will get to Michael's or Joanne's pretty early on in our trip. But hopefully I will be able to kind of use that skein for the first page maybe. It's not sure. I'm not sure that it will cover that. Or look if I can figure out if I'm gonna start from the bottom or something like that, just because I don't have that blue. Could probably start from the bottom. I never done that. That's a new thing. It would be strange though. It could be strange, but it could work. I don't know. I will have to look into it to see how it works, if I can start from the bottom. Something. I need to do something anyhow, because I don't have the 820s. Would be if I go into town on Monday and buy a skein. Just so I have on the trip over, because I have the trip we're flying from Stockholm to Copenhagen, then from Copenhagen to Miami, and the trip Copenhagen-Miami is 10 hours and 40 minutes, and I can get a lot of stitches done in 10 hours and 40 minutes if I have threads. So I might actually just go in on Monday and grab a skein. I could do that. Maybe. Well, I am going to head to bed now. So good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Bye! Oh, by the way, needle poked me hard in the finger. Leia is kind of running around. Yeah, Gizmo wanted to come and say hi too. They're waiting for me to give them their evening food. They get fed at night, so they sleep day and live at night. But yeah, I'm gonna change out this food. This is the old food. They don't eat dry food that's been out for 24 hours, so I have to change this up and give them new ones. I'm trying to find the good medium, but it's hard. It's not always you find a good medium.